held a rally
Right.
last night
10
in
years
Georgia
ago.
where she appeared side by side for the first time with former President Barack Obama. A crowd of 23,000 people, the largest of her campaign. Also heard from Samuel L. Jackson, Tyler Perry, and Bruce Springsteen.
I want a president who reveres the Constitution, who does not threaten but wants to protect and guide our great democracy, who believes in the rule of law and the peaceful transfer of power, who will fight for a woman's right to choose, and who wants to create a middle-class economy that will serve all our citizens. There is only one candidate in this election who holds those principles dear, Kamala Harris.
So when I think about America, I think about my grandmother's quilt. We are all shapes, sizes, and colors, but we are one. And it was so important for me to stand with a candidate who understands that we as America, we are a quilt. And I could never stand with a candidate who wants America to be a sheet.
Kamala Harris is ready for the job. This is a leader who has spent her life fighting on behalf of people who need a voice, who need a champion. Kamala wasn't born into privilege. She was raised in a middle-class family. She worked at McDonald's when she was in college to pay her expenses. She didn't pretend to work at McDonald's when it was closed.
Over the last years, and in particular the last 8 years, Donald Trump has become more confused, more unstable, and more angry. You see it every day. He has become increasingly unhinged. But last time, at least there were people around him who could control him. But do notice in this election, they're not with him this time. There's a choice that everybody has. So let's imagine it for a moment. It's either Donald Trump in there stewing over his enemies list, or me working for you, checking off my to-do list. You have the power to make that decision. It is your power. It is your power.
You know, Jonathan, her closing statement, her closing theme is going to be very basic. It's going to be, he's about him, I'm about you. And again, as I said yesterday, the October surprise has not been what one of the greatest journalists in America, Jeffrey Goldberg, has reported. It's not what a great general who dedicated his life and whose son gave his life defending this country have said. It's about what Donald Trump has said himself, where he said, this is going to be about me. I am going to arrest my political opponents. I am going to shut down CBS News because I don't like how 60 Minutes edited a package. I am going to obsess over exacting revenge. He's talked about retribution. He's talked about all these things. But it's fascinating. You usually don't have your opponent playing right into your hands, but that's exactly what Donald Trump has been saying. And yet, despite all of the unconstitutional things he has been saying and promising over the past several weeks, this race is tied this morning.
It is a dead heat, this race. And internals from both campaigns suggest they're within a point in like every battleground state. The Trump campaign thumping their chest a little more than the Harris team. But it is a tie race, and this is going to be the vice president's closing argument, is that this idea is that Donald Trump has no plans. He has no policy proposals. He has maybe one about no taxes on tips. That's it. Everything else is just about himself. It's about Rev. It's about retribution. It's about grievance. It's about going after his political enemies and potentially using the military to do so. While the vice president is trying to say, look, I have all these, you may not have loved everything about the Biden administration, but we did a lot of good for a lot of people. Look at these proposals. I'm going to go even further in a number of areas here. She is trying to say, look, he's about himself. I'm for you. And that soundbite there, the idea of the to-do list, they love that, I'm told. And we're going to hear that a number of times each and every day for the next 11 days.
No, I think that is exactly what we're looking at. I did 4 cities yesterday in Michigan on our nonpartisan National Action Network tour, but laying out the facts on both candidates. I had the Central Park 5 with me and a brother of George Floyd. And I'm still hearing arguments, not the majority of them, but some among black men. I'm still hearing arguments among some of the Arab Americans as we toured just yesterday. And I think it is very tight. I think we also have to deal with the fact that Donald Trump it reminds me of a battered mate syndrome, where you beat down your wife or you beat down your husband saying, you're lucky you're with me, you're nothing without me. And people are falling for this because of their own biases, some misogyny, some race, and others that they bring to the table, because they couldn't rationally be listening to Trump and Harris and come up with Trump. It's what they bring to the table as you bring to a battered marriage. If you already think you're less than something, you accept somebody telling you that. And that's what Donald Trump has, a battered syndrome campaign. You're nothing without me. You shouldn't be even allowed in my presence. And people with insecurities or biases feed into that.